Good morning, Index Menswear. Welcome to the first of 3 panel sessions today with me, Eric Musgrave. I'm delighted to see you all here. We're going to discuss the feel-good factor in the independent menswear. For those of you that don't know, I've been writing about the industry for a year or two. Former editor of Draper's, Fashion Weekly, For Him, MAB News, a million other things, most of which have closed. Which is why you find me here. So I'm going to ask my 2 learned colleagues to introduce themselves. So we'll start on the far side with this good-looking young man.
Thanks, Eric. For those who don't know me, Nigel Pinnock. This year sees my 40th year in this wonderful industry that we're all involved in. 30 years of which as an independent agent. With a colleague, Michael Bennett, we look after Roy Robson for the country. He does the north, I do the south. Then with my lovely wife, who's up the back somewhere, we, from our showroom in the West End, work with collections from Italy, Germany, Holland. And just nice for the invite to talk about our side of what we see in the industry as well.
Good man. Sir.
Matthew Rawlings, 21 years working as director for Co's of East Anglia, mini chain, 5 shops and website. And then Christmas Eve I left there and joined Douglas and Graham as commercial director. So I moved across to the dark side. Got a lot of abuse because of it, but haven't looked back since and loving it. Brand wise, Remus Romo, which is just behind you over there. The classic brands through the Lounge, Douglas, Daniel Graham, DG's Drifter, and 1880, which is schoolwear and boys wear, but like a mini Remus as well. That's me. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to crack through as quickly as we can. We're here for about half an hour and going to allow some time for questions from you guys towards the end. So basically, I think it's great to be here with such a positive atmosphere. I haven't been to an Index show for quite a few years. I know this is the 3rd one since COVID. I just think anybody who's survived COVID as in a business sense has done fantastically well. So you ought to give yourselves a big round of applause. But before we get on to kind of the feel-good factor, I'd just like to start with my colleagues here. Nigel, what business-wise, what did you learn from the whole COVID lockdown bizarre experience of the last 2 years?
As an agent, it was a very scary time. Likewise for the retail side. But for all the bad things that happened, coming out the other side, there's a lot of opportunities. I think a lot of retailers, although they were supposedly closed or away from their business, they look more at their social media side. Some of them were open behind closed doors, and they also discovered new customers who maybe lived close by but worked in cities. So there's new customer base, and coming out now, everybody, we're all social butterflies. I think being locked up for nearly 2 years was a strain for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
People want to get out now, as all the retail seeing, and spend money.
Yeah.
And they want to be entertained when they're spending money. And there are so many opportunities for the retailer to go back to life is a cabaret and put the show on.
Totally agree. Yeah. Matt, what business-wise, what would you say has been learned?
Well, just to pick up on what Nigel said, it was a scary time. I mean, I was in retail at the time, and the biggest shop was 30,000 square feet, 80 members of staff, and suddenly there were 6 of us knocking around this building, thinking what the hell was going on. Mm-hmm. And you had to act quite fast in terms of websites and kind of do what we could do to bring some kind of money in. But it was, equally bad for the agents, the other side of the fence as well. For Douglas and Graham, if any of you know Carrickfergus, the head office there, it's a huge operation. The warehouse is absolutely enormous, and during that time, the warehouse wasn't big enough. All the stock came in, but nothing was going out because retailers were closed.
Sure.
So they had to take on extra space to house that. And if you go there now, the cupboards are bare. Because it's been so busy. I hate to say that, and we'd love to support you all with more stock, but that's kind of the reality at the moment. But really, I suppose it's 3 Ps. It was patience, partnerships, and pivoting. The patience and partnerships are very closely linked. I think COVID probably brought us closer together, the retailer and the supplier, because without each other we can't survive. But patience, for the reasons I said about supply chain, it's a difficult time, but retailers thankfully have been very understanding that it is taking quite a while to get stock in at the moment, and these things are a challenge. And pivot, we had to very quickly change what we did and increase the casual offering. For instance, we're known as a formal house, and suddenly the casual wear in all brands is key, because apart from occasions, weddings, races, that kind of thing, nobody's wearing what I'm wearing today. It's all casual wear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's just extraordinary how the industry. I mean, we know the menswear industry is compared with, say, the women's wear industry. It's much more friendly, much more clubbable. I've worked in them both for 40 odd years. From what I was been hearing from both suppliers and retailers, there was a real understanding during COVID of each other's position, and I heard very few criticisms of supplier attitudes. Only a few people kind of threw the weight around and said, you've given the order, you've got to pay for it, mate. Most of it was like, okay, we'll try and help you out. I think also, from what I'm told, communication between retailer, agent, supplier, whatever, improved a hell of a lot.
Even if it's bad news, you've got to let them know.
Exactly, and vice versa. I think one of the real positives coming out of COVID was the fact we weren't allowed to go to a shop. We weren't allowed to kind of interact, as you said, Nigel, just do the normal social things that we took for granted. I think now there's a really strong feeling from the consumer, who, let's face it, is the most important person in this discussion, that they have, as you said, have rediscovered local shops that maybe they've never been to, and they have perhaps been forced to try selling online, but now of reducing that back again and going into shops once more. And I also think, to pick up one of Matt's points, I had to write a column a few months ago when there was this story about suits are dead because, I don't know, John Lewis was stopped selling it, or some crazy decision. So for like the 10th time in my career, I had to write a story saying suits are not dead, just the market's changing, and anybody who's selling tailoring is going to have a very good time. And walking around here, that's what I'm being told. You said the wedding business is really great. So generally, I know, because we've had a discussion, you're thinking, Nigel, this is a really good time to be an independent retailer. So can you just
It's a very good time to be an agent.
Well, I'm pleased about that, obviously, mate. I know you've been
smiling again.
Yeah, so that's my main concern: is are my agents okay? But then the retailers come second. But tell us some reasons you think it's good to be an independent now.
Again, opportunity. I mean, there is money around. People have been stuck indoors. Some with furloughs, they've got a bit more money in their pocket at the moment, despite all the negativity that's being discussed. People don't want to go now to the mass high street and pick something up that's on a rail. They have to go and pick it up themselves, stand in a queue at a till, and no interaction, just have the garment put in a bag, off they go.
Mm-hmm.
It's an experience that people want to enjoy again.
Yeah.
And there's the sort of age group that a lot of this index fair caters for. There's money in people's pockets, and it's all about, liken it to restaurants. You can have the best chef in the kitchen, you could have the best brands supplying you, but the front of house is where all the action goes, and really for independents now to put that show back on the shop floor.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of retail, they always do that anyway, but now is more the time than ever to put the show on.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think of that? What do you think about the benefits for the independent sector of things like the total demise of Debenhams, the partial demise of House of Fraser, no idea what's going on at Marks and Spencer in this classic menswear area, similarly with John Lewis, Topman's gone, Burton's gone. I mean, a lot of places, Moss Bros reducing, Austin Reed disappeared, etc., etc. I mean, do you think retailers are independent retailers are well placed to fill that void?
100%. I mean, it's a bit cliche, but it's that opportunity to press the reset button. You know, we've all got a second chance at kind of doing everything we wanted to do and didn't do. You know, you've never had such little stock in your shops. You know, probably cash flow is as good as it's been for a long time. So you know, now is the opportunity to do so. I think it's a case of Nigel touched upon it about people shopping locally. You know, we want to maintain that ideally. You know, you don't want them going off to the out-of-town shopping centres if they can shop within the local area and find exactly what they want and then some. Then why would they want to go and shop at Fraser's or wherever else? I think it's about bringing the community in, making the shop as experiential as possible, making it as enjoyable, retail theatre. It's all the old adages, but it's the opportunity to actually do it. You know, whether that's new brands, whether that's trading up, because don't have a race to the bottom because you won't win that race because Fraser's will, for instance. You know, so there's loads of opportunities, but it's about just getting your house in order, I think, and working together with the suppliers, whichever suppliers they are, and offering the customer something different, high quality, maybe pushing the prices up a bit as well. And service. You won't get service in these other shops.
Yeah, I think the price issue is really important because we all know the price of everything is going up, and the fashion business is not somehow insulated from that. My personal view is that the independent retail sector should not be worried about seeing the prices rise. I'm not saying treble or anything like that. But you know, you've got to pass on the cost that you guys are passing on. You know, that your suppliers, in your case, your company, Matt, you know, they've got price increases. The wholesale price has gone up, so therefore the retail price has gone up. And I think the independent sector could be very confident about that and just saying, never mind the price, think of the value. We are giving a really good experience here. Most of the people who come to INDX now, they're selling good quality merchandise at a fair price. It's the price is what it is. And it's probably not an important factor, but I think certainly a factor is, you know, the whole business about sustainability and buying clothes to last a bit more. That's what this sector has been doing. This is not the disposable fashion sector. So I think that is another small element of why the indies should be feeling quite confident about it. But I certainly think they shouldn't be worried about price rises coming up in autumn and then going into 2023. But I think, you know, I totally agree with everything you've said, that the experience they provide is really worthwhile. And I think people who maybe didn't realise it or had forgotten about it have rediscovered it. So I think the opportunity is there, and I don't know what you think about whether your sense is retailers really understand what a good opportunity they've got right now, like this season, into autumn and into spring. They think they do. They're maximising it, would you say,
The last 3 weeks in the showroom, it has been like a breath of fresh air. There's people coming in, it's positive, enthusiastic, a lot of optimism, and I think there's retailers taking extra units, making their shops bigger.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if we went back, I mean, I've been in this game a long time, but when I first came in, there were lots of small groups of what were independent, but small group independents. And you saw them over the late 90s and disappear. Those opportunities are back again now for single unit retailer. The guy's got 2 shops to find the extra one. I mean, I love following shops not necessarily that I deal with on Instagram and that. And it's nice to hear stories of people like Martin at Wise Guys, and he puts it across in a very fun way.
Yeah.
And the enthusiasm is great. It's yeah. So I'm sure everybody is. The feel-good factor is there. The retailers are fully aware of it,
Yeah.
and good luck.
That's nice.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Making hay while the sun shines, as it's
Yeah.
shining. It doesn't want to shine this much because nobody wants to go shopping in this heat. But, okay. Matt, just picking up the point about social media and also online. I mean, my feeling is that a number of people who didn't sell online were forced to during COVID, whether they liked it or not. In some cases, they found it was not that difficult. But what I'm hearing now is that people who saw a spike selling online, and now that online is dropping, and then they're seeing an unexpected lift in the stores
Of course.
of people who discovered them maybe online,
Yeah.
and then are local enough to go in and enjoy the physical experience. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from just going back to my experience at Co's, we had a decent online business. It was over £1 million worth of business, and during that COVID year, it was our best year ever. But we made projections for the following year, and it was down. It wasn't up, but we can't have it in all ways. I'm a bit old-fashioned. I want people to come in the stores. We want to give people something that they can't experience online. It's important. I think it just becomes a part of the overall package, whether that's a website or whether it's social media. They're all important, of course they are. But ultimately, we want to drive people into the stores where they can get a fabulous service that you guys can offer to hopefully build up their wardrobes. The thing about online is it's difficult to get those multiple purchases. Returns rates are very high. Whereas in the store you can try things on. Nothing. The thing I miss most about being in retail, a busy shop. If you're busy and you're selling and you're actually going through the whole outfit, it's fantastic. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, the thing I don't like buying anything online really, but I once was having a chat with Stuart Rose, who once upon a time ran Arcadia and then ran Marks and Spencer, and I said to him, Marks and Spencer was doing something about relaunching its website, and I said to him, do you buy anything online? So he said, well, I buy theatre tickets, I buy airline tickets. He said, I'm ashamed to say I buy books when I really could go to a bookshop. He's a bit of a wine buff, so he knows enough about wine to buy it online. But he made a very interesting comment. He said, I would never buy anything that requires an aesthetic decision. And I thought that's so important. To me, the idea of buying some menswear without seeing it, feeling the fabric, trying the thing on, just seems like you're asking for trouble. Returns. I know the returns on menswear is much lower than womenswear because guys say, oh, it doesn't fit that well, but it'll do, and I can't be asked taking it back. But I just think that people go to an independent retailer and experience, what a good independent retailer offers them, would not really go anywhere else.
No,
unfortunately. Unfortunately, they wouldn't go back to say a department store experience. And the other thing that I always think about online is you say, oh, I want to buy a blue polo. So you look for blue polos, but you don't look for anything else. You walk into a menswear shop, say, have you got a blue polo? And they say, oh yes, sir, we've also got a green one, a red one, a white one, and here's a jacket to go with it. And have you thought about these lime green trousers? And that whole thing where they become your style advisor. I know it's a bit of a cliche to say that.
You mean you didn't buy that online while you're wearing it?
No, I didn't. The lights were not in the shop the day I went in, but anyway, you've been speaking quite hard. I didn't come here to be insulted.
I'd say
stayed at home for that.
Buy your fridge freezers and get your washing machines online because they all look the bloody same.
Yeah.
But get your clothes in the stores. You can try things on.
You would 100%. But anyway, billions and billions is sold online, but now they're all waking up, aren't they, to this thing of, oh, we can't give free delivery anymore because it's costing us money. Really? You've only just woken up to that idea?
Well, now they're charging for returns as well, which will put
quite right too.
people off and drive people more
from
back
start.
to the shops. Yeah.
Listen, we've got a few other points to cover, but we've got a few minutes to go. Any questions from the floor to me or to my learned friends here about anything to do with current state of trade, state of the world? Silence. Everybody knows the answers. let's just, because we want to be realistic, what would you say the biggest question mark or cloud over the independent menswear sector is right now, looking forward over the next rest of this year and into 2023? What do you say the number one thing is?
Well, it is, I think, a question where people are coming out. I'm talking about the tailoring side of what I do now, is on a real high. A lot of independents, if they tell me they're 20%, 30% up on 2019, not the COVID years. They're buzzing about it, and they do say we're on a crest of a wave. When do you think it's going to end? And really, for me, is you look at the wedding industry, you look at wedding venues, which are booked now for up to 3 years in advance. So my answer to my customer is, well, let's worry about that 2-3 years down the line, because there is going to be more and more driven back to the independents. What we spoke about with the high street multiples, let them continue to beat each other up and let them encourage their online sales, because people want that shopping experience. And there's some great, from all the mix of customers that we see in the showroom. And again, I go back to when I used to go to the trade show as a little kid, and my father was a buyer for 57 independent menswear shops. And I fell in love with the industry because it was full of characters on all sides, retailers, manufacturers, agents, and a lot of that disappeared from the characters. But the opportunity now is showmanship. And
good point. It's really good point.
And as suppliers to shops, we've got to give the retailer all the tools to perform on the shop floor. And
Matt, another thing, I mean, obviously the big cloud, I guess, is the economic situation worldwide, and also in the UK, and also I mentioned my friends in Ireland as well. But you know, there's not a lot any of us can do about that. You just have to be aware of it. But coming back to a specific menswear thing, is what's, you know, you're a big supplier of menswear which is made all around the world. What's the sort of honest situation now about the supply chain issues?
Yeah, the supply chain is a challenge. We can't shy away from that. It's the same, I'm sure, it is for the brands that Nigel carries and everybody else in this room. And that's a bit where the partnership side of it comes in. You know, whereas before, if we were Douglas and Graham and we were taking an order for some suits, you could put down a few to start with and know that we'd have
turn the tap on.
You know, now we're looking for a bit more. Unfortunately, from you, it's kind of help us to help you situation.
A bit more commitment.
Because at the moment, no sooner are the suits flying in, they're flying out again, which is a lovely position to be in. But it's a challenge. It creates another challenge, and then you've got the actual raw material challenge. You know, we've been quoted 6-7 months to get fabric woven. You know, so it all goes down the line. So we're doing what we can to bring supply chain closer to these shores. That will certainly help speed things up a bit. But it's the elephant in the room. But it's the same for absolutely everybody. And I will say retailers have been super patient because you need stock to survive, but it is the same for everybody.
Yeah, sure.
You know, there's a more short-term issue as well, not linked to supply chain, but one of the challenges that we've found, and I'm sure you guys will find as well, if you are successful and you are busy, it's actually recruitment. You know, where we're based in Northern Ireland, it's a small country, and we've got skilled vacancies, you know, design vacancies, you name it. Trying to fill those roles is difficult, not least because of where we're located. But you know, even on the shop floor, talking to our customers coming on the stands yesterday and today, they're all busy. None of them have got enough staff, but they can't find any staff.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So where are
where are they?
What are they doing? Because you hear hospitality, hotels haven't got them, restaurants haven't, pubs haven't. I just wrote recently about in the manufacturing sector. So I live near the Scottish border, so I speak to a lot of particularly knitwear people, cashmere people in Hoyt, Gallowfields and so on. They can't find the people to come and join the industry to learn the skills that are being taken away by all the people that are reach retirement age.
Yeah.
But where are these people working then?
Yeah, I know.
Does anybody know? I'm genuinely wondering what all these people are doing, because everybody said we haven't got enough staff. So there we are. Okay. Kevin?
We do enough to tell people all the great things that these guys have been talking about.
I agree.
Nigel talking about how he was in. So we need the industry to tell the next generation what a great business is working.
Yep.
And I think we can do more. This show can do more. We need to do more.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Very, very good point. Well, as you know, Kevin, I took my lad to bread and butter when he was still at school. So he's now in the industry doing very well. He had no choice really. None of them did. But, thank God none of them went into journalism. But anyway, they've gone to where the money is. But yeah, it's a very good point. I do think retail is like, oh, you used to be said in it you don't work in a shop if you can't get a proper job. I mean, I think there's still that's hanging over a bit, and I do think that the independent sector probably suffers from, oh, Debenhams is closed, Arcadia's closed, this is closed, that is closed, the whole high street is collapsing, and I don't think people think well enough about what a great career they could have working, for an independent retailer or a supplier to the independent sector. But thank you for that. It's a good point. Any other comments? Any other questions before we wrap up this first session? I mean, I have to say, as I said, I haven't been to an AAS show for quite a while. I haven't been to a trade show for quite a while, but I've been really more than pleasantly surprised, like really sort of inspired and energised by the kind of vibe that's going on around here. I think it's, I've been in this business for 40 odd years. It's been very good to me, and I've always been a great champion of the independent sector and the suppliers to it. And I just think, I totally agree with what's been said here. There's a very rare opportunity that's come out of a really crap time that COVID and lockdown was. And I just hope that everybody in the independent menswear sector appreciates the opportunity that exists, that Nigel highlighted, and actually really goes for it in whatever way they have to do, whether that's more social media that you mentioned, Matt, or more events in store, or just telling people we're there and come and join us. I must say I've been very encouraged by the anecdotes I've been hearing about, again it's been mentioned here, existing people opening an extra branch. So perhaps somebody didn't survive COVID, an independent store, so has left a gap. I was talking to one of the exhibitors out here, Taverner, so they've got 6 shops, even though they're a big supplier to the independent trade. He said in Stratford upon Avon, he's the only mainstream menswear shop in Stratford upon Avon. I mean, there's so many opportunities for people, and what I understand is the landlords are being a bit more sensible about their terms and so on. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard of any people coming in the business from scratch. Is there much of that happening? Because what I'm hearing is it's much more existing businesses expanding a bit. Yeah. And you're dead right, all those regional chains that used to exist back in the 80s and 90s were very dominant. So that would be the people in the West Midlands or in Norfolk or in South Yorkshire or something. Yeah, there used to be lots of them. If you want a little thing about all our yesterdays, every Friday on my Instagram account, which is called Just Ask Eric Musgrave, I post the news pages from Draper's Record, as it still was, from 20 years ago. So it's very interesting to see what we used to get excited about 20 years ago, and try and recognise how many names you'd forgotten were even big players and now no longer with us. And occasionally there's a picture of a young-looking person who's not so young. The team here at INDX Menswear for making me so welcome and organising everything so well.
And us as exhibitors as well.
Indeed.
Really good job.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good, very good. Really enjoyed seeing everybody. So I'm back here at 1:30 and then again at 3:30, and I might be here even longer because I don't think my train's going to get me home tonight.
The good news is we're
So anyway, I could have brought my yellow trousers as well. I'll have to wear the boring blue ones. Right, thank you very much, folks. And we'll see you at 1:30. Nigel, Matt, thank you very much.